Now. 2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Welcome on. Let's
Hi, everyone, and welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Matthew Moreno, and joining me, Scott Geirman, for a little bit of a special kind of lunchtime episode / Game 3 early preview. Scotty, how are things going?
Doing all right. A lot of anticipation here. I love the impromptu streams. We want to make sure we get out here for everybody, get some live talk. I know everybody's trying to fill their time. If you're working from home, I know you're trying to just, keep as many tabs open as possible. So it looks like you're working. We're right there with you. It's a long wait. That day off meant a lot as far as getting ourselves a breath, the team a breath, no doubt, but we're getting antsy, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to apologize if you guys follow us on Twitter last night. You saw that we sent out a tweet that we were having some technical difficulties. I was supposed to host a live show last night. Unfortunately, hotel Wi-Fi wasn't cooperating, and so it didn't work out. I have moved, and that's kind of the impetus behind doing this show a little bit earlier than normal. I know we've done a couple pregame shows here and there during the playoffs, but I have to head over to the stadium here about 1. So we have about 45 minutes that Scott and I wanted to spend with you guys. And, let's get right into it. Obviously, if you've watched, 5 seconds of the NLDS so far, you've heard that Manny Machado and Dave Roberts and the Dodgers dugout and Jack Flaherty sort of got into it in Game 2. What Dave Roberts revealed to us, the media, on Monday when he was speaking before the Dodgers workout at Petco Park, he was asked, I guess he didn't necessarily offer the information. He was asked about it. If apparently the baseball that Machado threw at the Dodgers dugout was in kind of basically at Roberts, and the netting is there. So it would have, rolled at his feet, if you will, if that guardrail wasn't up. Dave wasn't happy about it. We do have that video up on our YouTube channel, so I definitely recommend you guys check it out. MLB's investigating it. Scott, what do you make of this whole situation? Because it did start off with, Machado and Flaherty exchanging words because Tatis got hit by a pitch, and then Flaherty shouted some expletives at Machado after striking him out. Yeah. And then Flaherty did say after Game 2 that, the cameras caught him yelling at Machado still from the dugout, but he said what wasn't seen was that he had thrown a baseball over at us, and that wasn't right, and this and that. And so we did know the little bit of that information, but then Dave Roberts sort of peeled back the curtain even more.
Yeah, I think, Dave Roberts, like the players, Jack Flaherty, jarring at Manny Machado for that, for him tossing that ball. And it's a fairly normal practice for players to do that, to toss a ball over to the dugout. But to what Dave Roberts said, and when I didn't see it real time, we all saw the video, afterwards, you could see there was a little bit of extra oomph on that baseball. If there was no net, but there are nets, it bounced in front in the direction of Dave Roberts. I think this is, these extra antics in this game. And I think there was a lot in Game 2. There was a ton of stuff with the fans, Profar in the first, after the home run robbery. But directly to Dave Roberts, I feel that, if he takes exception to it, if he felt disrespected by it, he's entitled to that. He probably has a rapport with Manny Machado, and that probably caught him completely off guard. Seeing that, after the fact, everything that happened in that game, that ball going right by him, he understands that, yes, players probably do that, but why is he throwing that, that baseball directly in his direction there, harder than it normally would otherwise? Just a bad look in a game that had a lot of bad looks for a lot of different, from a lot of different avenues here.
Yeah, definitely. And to your point, Dave, that is important to note that Dave Roberts did say that the ball came at the Dodgers dugout with a little more velocity, if you will, than just, like you said, kind of lobbing one into, the steps or whatever. And that first video that came out, the San Diego Padres reporter shared it. Her name escapes me at this time, so I apologize for not remembering it. For me, it was kind of hard to tell. I thought, okay, he threw it a little bit harder, but is it that big of a deal? But actually, maybe about an hour ago at this point, Jeff Passan tweeted out a new angle. It looks like it's maybe from the Loge level or reserve level of Machado throwing it. Mm-hmm. And you can see, there was a little bit of zip on there, and he wasn't, throwing it across the dime like the way he would if he was trying to get an out at first base. But there certainly was a little something behind it. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, like we said, at this point, that it was reported by The Athletic and the LA Times that the Dodgers gave video to MLB. And I got a little worried. I was like, man, if you're the Dodgers, how much do you really need to push this? But the LA Times clarified that MLB actually requested it from the Dodgers, and so they're looking into it. All that being said, Alden Gonzalez of ESPN has reported that any sort of punishment is not necessarily expected.
If anything, I don't think it'll happen now. Like, if anything will happen, it'll be after the fact. It'll be something that's dealt with next season, because you can yell at players. You can, these guys can get into these shouting matches. They can have these on-field moments. But once it comes from objects and players throwing things, and that's what it gets. Leave that up to the league. For us, it's a whole lot of just back and forth about what we believe it is. At the root of it, we know that it's something that's not normal practice. That's not something that normally goes on there. Shouting matches happen. But once you see a guy, you see him, Manny Machado, pull that ball back and he fires it. So we know what it looks like, right? So the league will deal with it. It'll be nothing that'll happen now. If anything, it's just for a lot of talk and a lot of, maybe a little bit more fire in either direction. Dave Roberts is, speaking about how he felt personally disrespected by it. And I think that's to note. Much more outside of that, players hear it. It was good for Jack Flaherty to stand up there and continue to do that. Somebody's got some fire there. Past it, Matt, I don't know much else past the league doing anything right now. I think it'll be something, if they do deal with it, will be in the offseason heading into next year.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned some of that passion and the fire going on, and that segues perfectly into our next topic that I want to discuss. The Padres, I don't think it's not a stretch to say, if you want to argue that the Dodgers are just as emotional or have as much fire, this, that, and the other, and how it's exuded, fine. I think what can't be denied is the Padres collectively, and certainly their team leaders, show it more on the field, right? They're more demonstrative, good or bad, whatever the case may be, than the Dodgers do. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's right or wrong, that one is good or bad. Considering what's already happened in Game 2 with the fans, the Dave Roberts situation, Manny Machado, all that stuff, and then Dave, during his press conference yesterday, also drops a little line, and you wrote this for us. We're going to get it up on DodgerBlue.com, of the Padres. Dave Roberts said the Padres sort of embrace this villain type stigma, label, perception. It already was going to be emotionally charged heading into Game 3. And I can tell you, just walking around San Diego, there's a lot of excitement for the Padres already.
Yeah.
Is Dave sort of adding more fuel to the Padres' fire? And is it going to potentially inadvertently backfire against the Dodgers?
I mean, it backfires if they lose. If the Dodgers go on and win, then it was just, them calling out what the Padres, they are. Dave Roberts called them the villain. That, just to be clear, that role, that came from Dave Roberts. That came from them, the Padre, what he sees the Padres as, they're kind of, the antagonizers a little bit. They're out there. They like to, they'll jar back at players. They're no problem. Manny Machado, you see him, very demonstrative player. Fernando Tatis will look at fans. He will toy back with them. Jerkson Profar, same way. First thing right after he robs that home run, staring down fans in the left field pavilions there. So he fooled everybody in the stadium. Fernando Tatis continued to jar back with fans there. He did it in the dugout. Fans continuing to do that. That's how they play the game. That's how they operate. It's different because not a lot of Dodger players do that. And if they do, it feels out of place. That's not what Dodger fans are used to. That's what they do. That's the culture they've got over there. They're going to be very outright, very outwardly emotional on the baseball field, and they're going to show it. As far as fueling any other fire, I don't know how much Dave Roberts can add to that by just calling it how he sees it. That's the way that they're doing it. People in chat are noticing. It's like the little brother San Diego Padres, understanding they have a good team around them, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get under Big Brother's skin. And that's what they're doing right now. And I would say, Matt, from what we saw in Game 2, winning that game 10-2 in blowout fashion, evening the series up, I think they feel they're doing exactly what they hope to be doing.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I think, the little brother, big brother thing, and try to agitate, the proverbial, the NLDS champion. Look, the Padres have, they obviously won the season series this year, but they did lose the division. And I mean, that all of that will be rendered relatively pointless like it was in 2022 if the Dodgers fall short here in the NLDS.
Yep.
I think what will be interesting, the Dodgers, and to your point, maybe Dave Roberts isn't adding on to anything for the Padres because they might just, be so internally motivated and just kind of find their own slights to pull on. I think what Dave Roberts could have potentially done, though, is make it what is going to be a hostile environment all the more tense for his players. I'm sure I'm going to try and record the lineup introductions tonight. I'm sure every single Dodger is going to get booed.
Loud
Honestly, Dave Roberts might get booed because managers get introduced with their players as well. Dave Roberts might get the loudest boos out of any player at this point, which is not what I would have predicted heading into this. But, maybe the sort of, I don't want to call it a saving grace, but the wild card for the Dodgers is who they have on the mound. Walker Buehler is certainly, he's let it back in the day, and even now when he's, been able to find a little bit of rhythm and momentum, he's let his emotions come out. And is there, considering the state of the Dodgers pitching staff, is there anybody else that you would want starting this game when factoring in everything that is surrounding it on the field, off the field?
Is that currently on the team right now?
Yes.
Or just
and available? Real? I mean, well, let's say I'll give you not an out.
I'll keep it right here. We don't need to go outside. We'll just say right here, just for what it is. Yes, yeah. I mean, for where that it's at. If we're not going to talk a bullpen game, I would love to go with an opener. If you're like the stuff that we had on Sunday night, I was with Jeff and we talked about an opener. I don't know how Walker Buehler feels about that. I don't think they'll go with it. I think it's a beautiful idea to shorten that game for Walker Buehler, considering he just saw the Padres on the 26th of September. He went 5 innings, allowed 1 earned run, but a lot of contact. It was a contact game for him, but you got to see good results. Darvish, same type of way. I said I tweeted out that he had 7 different pitch types. He was efficient. He was working. He had every hitter for the Dodgers seemingly, off balance to an extent. Balls were being hit, but not great expected stats on all that stuff. But it's about, you've got to know that where Walker Buehler's at, same conversation, buddy. He doesn't have that strikeout fastball. He's got to be able to pitch to contact, find some length there, find some quick innings, because he can give up hard contact. He can give up that solo shot. But what he did really well against San Diego on the 26th in that pivotal 3-game set is he pitched to contact and he let his defense go to work. Darvish did the same thing, let his defense go to work, didn't try to strike everybody out. And I think that's what Walker Buehler has to be doing. So, yeah, I mean, that compete's going to be there. He said that these are the moments that he lives for. These are the only thing he cares about. That says a ton, because I think he understands where he's at in his current career. If all he's got right now is this postseason stuff, it's because he's been there. His rookie year, that 2018 season is memorable for every single Dodgers fan. Like, that was a magical run for him. But now he's at a different part of his career with his stuff. Is that compete going to make him get out of the current mode he's in, where he was efficient against the Padres, on the 26th of September? I need him to, hone that in as a veteran, 30 years old now for Walker Buehler. I need him to hammer that in and be able to focus it, and while not being like, I've got to bring that, that FU fastball by everybody and pitch, and pitch.
Yeah, I think that will be important for him to work that balance that you pointed out, because even if he tries reaching back for that old fastball, I don't think it's there, right? I mean, we haven't seen it, and it's not necessarily no fault of his own. He's had his 2 Tommy John surgeries and all that, so it's not like you were on this early in the season. It's Walker Buehler needed to embrace his new reality, and I think he told us yesterday that over the last I think he called it 6 weeks, if not the last month, maybe he had kind of started to feel better about things and closer to his normal self, and so that is encouraging, and it did match up with my true and tried eye test that I love throwing at you guys.
It matters. It matters. I don't ever want you to discredit the eye test. Like, what you see on the field, and you can see body language. You can see how these players feel on the mound. So there is a level of balancing that out. Eye test is great at some points, but from what you've seen, you've watched him. That confidence when you're out there, you can tell when a guy is feeling it, when he's in the moment where he is, where his 2 feet are. And I think Walker Buehler, I think for you, I think you're a great, you've watched him start in, start out for a long time. You'll be able to know right away, is that heartbeat there? Is he able to do it? Like, we might not see the results for, a couple innings until he gets his feet there, but I think you'll know pretty early.
Yeah. And I think one thing that could end up helping is the Dodgers get to hit first this time. Mm-hmm. And, they're pitching. It is what it is. And even with Buehler, like, I recognize Buehler's not the ace that he once was. And so there is a reality where he goes out there in the first inning and maybe gives up a run or 2. I think if the Dodgers, with Ohtani leading off the game, if the Dodgers are able to score 1 or 2 runs themselves, like, being tied 1-1 after the first inning is a lot different than you're coming up for your first at bat and you're already trailing 1-0 or you're already trailing 2-0. Mm-hmm. Especially because, look, a lot of these guys, or a good number of them, have been around the past couple, definitely last year, if not the year before. And we've seen this, right? And baseball is a mental sport. Like, we know that. And so, unfortunately, it is easy for a here we go again type thing. And the Dodgers push back against that mentality, I thought, in game 1. Game 2, not as much. So, we'll have to see how that goes. Let's get to a couple super chats really quick before we move on. Thank you, everybody who's joining us right now live. This was an impromptu sort of makeup episode for last night. Once again, if you missed it, I apologize for the technical difficulties we had last night. Scotty and I wanted to hop on and do this. So thank you, everybody, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. If you are on YouTube, please be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell. Once we get done here, I'm going to head over to Petco, and we're going to have some interviews up for you guys, so you definitely don't want to miss those. Our first super chat's from Cordonez. He wants to know, how confident are you guys feeling tonight?
I'm going to take this one first.
Go for it.
Okay. Because the series is at 1-1, I've dealt with a lot of friends and family that I would say way more than usual in recent years, probably because everybody feels the pressure, just like Mookie Betts. They're starting to feel the pressure. Stick around. We've got a segment about Mookie coming up. But I'm at a point where I think it's fair to say I'm 50-50, and I think that's okay. And I think that's totally right. I believe the Dodgers have enough offensively to get it going. I think Yu Darvish is just a problem for the Dodgers. He usually always is. Like, no matter when, he looks like he's so much more comfortable out there. A pitcher like Michael King, I know he can be filthy, but I went back and looked at the game logs for his most recent start there. And Mookie Betts had a very pivotal at bat with the bases loaded. I would need those opportunities early on in the game to go the Dodgers' way. The game will find the stars, and the stars got to be there. I hope Freddie Freeman's in the starting lineup, but I really think that if they're able to weather that early storm with Walker Buehler on the mound, it'll be a completely different sense. And I know this is evergreen. Can we get through the first inning? Can we get the first 2 innings without allowing a crooked number, a solo shot, a 2-run homer, the backed up slider to David Peralta changed the game? That was ultimately the deciding swing. Dodgers only put up 2 runs. I'm going to say, 5 out of 10. And I think that's fairly low for what a lot of fans might feel sometimes, saying that the series is still in hand because now it's just a 3-game set. You already knew, Dodger fans, that the pitching you were going to be behind the Padres in terms of the tier level of what it was going to be. You knew that the Dodgers weren't going to sweep the series. If you did, you were just being a blue lens thinker, and that's okay. But if that was the game that you pegged them to lose 10-2, then it just looks bad because it's 10-2. So I'm at a 5 out of 10. Cordonez, thank you for the super chat, man. And I need them again. As always, in the first game of the series, I said I need them to weather that early storm. If they do that, I'm feeling very confident because I need Walker Buehler to find a rhythm, and then Dave Roberts can start thinking, get the bullpen going, and go from there. They have to weather that early run production from the Padres.
Yeah, we have some more super chats, so I'm going to get to those. But really quick, TQT says, I commend Scott for being real and not a homer. Absolutely. Scott is great about sitting up here and telling you what he sees, what he thinks from an analytical standpoint, not just, he wants to root for the Dodgers, and so he's going to make him a bunch of fluff. But I do want to point out that I tried to bring balance to our show last week, and I've been getting killed in the chat every single time. So what's going on here, Scott?
I don't know.
I'll wear it if Scott gets the praise. That's fine. But just keep in general, guys. I know, we have TQT. You've been with us for a long time. We do try to bring you guys, balanced coverage. But I do want to point out that I've been getting killed in the chat for simply saying I'm bringing balance to our show.
Credit to him, guys.
Anyway, here we go.
He's in the trenches. He's in the press conference rooms. He's getting the interviews. Matt's in the trenches out there.
Let's piggyback off Cordonez's super chat asking how confident we are. Shelly Lawrence says, I'm beyond nervous. Who do you think will step up? Real quick, the beyond nervous part, I wanted to tie that to how I was going to answer Cordonez and sort of ask you guys, does it feel a little bit like there's a decent portion of the fan base that has sort of resigned themselves to the fact that this series is over? Like, it almost feels like we're down here in San Diego and the Padres are up 2-0.
I mean, I had a 45-minute phone call with my best buddy earlier. He's a corporate guy, so he tunes in as much as he can to stuff. And he sounded like he was on the brink. Shelly, he sounded like he was on the brink too. And I said, why? This series is 1-1. I had the Dodgers in 4. Like, they were going to lose a game. It's just the way that it happened. And people having PTSD from years past and the pitching was going to be a problem. And guess what? They dropped it in game 2. So if you guys are just following, if you bullet pointed every single thing that you thought would be a problem, guess what? Game 2 had it right in there. The Padres got off to a hot start early on. They got Jack Flaherty out of the game, after, he went 5. He pitched into the 6th, but the offense didn't show up. Mookie Betts went over. Ohtani went over. Freddie Freeman had to leave the game. So it felt like, that was essentially the perfect storm of, golly, man, this is it again. I understand, guys. Shelly, I understand you.
Yeah. And Shelly, to answer your second question, who do you think will step up? I'll go Teoscar. I think he comes up. Sorry, was that going to be your pick?
No. I mean, that's great. Like that's a really good pick, because Michael King in that, he had one at bat against Teoscar in the game, or in the series in LA, and he pounded Teoscar with a sinker on the hands, and he was just free swinging first thing. It was way inside, and then he goes ball one, and then Teoscar gets another sinker on the hands here and blasts it to left field. Right. So I think that he's going to learn from that. It's just that sweeper is such an equalizer for these right-handed hitters, such a big time thing. That's what I'm going to be looking out for. So Teoscar's a great pick, because he saw Michael King really well on a sinker that he likes to bury on the hands of right-handed hitters. So that's a terrific choice. I haven't really looked into who my pick will be yet. Who do I think will step up? I want to say Will Smith. Just for the fact that if Teoscar did the same thing about getting a sinker on the hands and, ripping it to left field, I want to see Will Smith do the same thing, whether it's the sweeper way that it gets one and he takes one, or he pulls in the hands and gets a sinker off the plate and does some damage with it. So I'm going to say Will Smith. A lot of people might think it's going to be a left-handed hitter. It could be Max Muncy. He's been hitting the ball pretty well. He's been seeing it pretty well. But I want to see some wild cards in the chat of people taking Mookie Betts. Because people that need to step up. Mookie Betts, somebody that is one of the best hitters in the league at hitting stuff that's in off the plate from righty-righty matchups. So that's something that I'll be looking out for. Whether he does it is a different question. But just like Teoscar did, getting those hands in, high velocity, that's something he's done well throughout his entire career.
Yeah. Let's see real quick. It's not a super chat. Where did it go? Not a super chat. But...
You guys are so funny. I appreciate you. Matt and I both, we appreciate everybody being in here. If we bring balance to the show by keeping it real and all that, we appreciate it. Like opposing fans coming in here, just please keep it respectful. We're absolutely going to entertain everybody. And people saying Fernando Tatis, look, guys, Fernando's a problem in the postseason at the plate. He's a problem.
Not a super chat, so we're going to get back to this. But back-to-back Nate wants to know if I'm wearing any Dodgers-related gear on the road, or if I stay low profile and incognito. Strictly business, although our Jeep sticks out like a sore thumb. That's pretty much the only Dodgers stuff you're going to see, especially riding around in San Diego and last year in Arizona. Somebody at the hotel gave me credit. He said, "Oh, I saw the Dodgers side. I was wondering what was going on, but he's a Lakers fan, so the Lakers Nation half of the Jeep he was all for." So I thought that was pretty funny.
Nice.
All right, let's get back to all these super chats. We want to cycle through them. Carlos Cervantes says, Padres talk a lot for a team that's only been good for 5 years. This series is their World Series, LOL. Yeah, I mean, look, that's always been like kind of the balancing act, right? If you're the Padres, sometimes I did say, I felt like the Padres celebrated their postseason berth harder than I would have anticipated for a team that one was contending for the division, two has World Series aspirations. And I'm not somebody who says, you can't celebrate your accomplishments or anything like that, because I don't believe that that's the case. Baseball is a long season, but I did think that they celebrated that a little more than I would have anticipated for a team. At this point, this isn't 2020 where they're ending a playoff drought and they're finally back in October baseball and stuff like that. Like, they've been here, so that surprised me. And yes, I mean, the rest of it is, look, the Padres are who they are. Scott, did the analogy of big brother, little brother type thing. And it's, kind of on the Dodgers. Hey, if the Dodgers don't want to deal with that, beat them. And that's it. And then you don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's totally correct. They see the Dodgers and the games that they have up. Every game is individual. Here, I bring up what Derek Jeter said on the pregame before game 2, that these players, yes, they think of this, some of the past, but they look game to game. And the Padres see who they are game to game. They dealt with the Dodgers 2 years ago. They took care of business in San Diego. They finished the job there. They've been looking at the Dodgers. Manny Machado has played for the Dodgers. They've got ties. Fernando Tatis, going back to 2020. They watched the Dodgers celebrate. So they've been putting this team together. They've built a culture down there for themselves. They've got a couple mainstays there. Jake Cronenworth's been there. Profar's been there. Machado's been there. You can go down the list. They've got some pillar pieces to their team. So they've been building that on their own. So it's only right for them to have this. And they've got a certain way to play the game. And it starts with their stars, and Manny Machado is that type of player. Tatis is that type of player. Fiery players. They're outwardly emotional. So yeah, Carlos, like, I'm not going to say it's their World Series, but they're rising to what they feel is something like they're bringing all of that emotion out right to this Dodgers team that, yes, they've been chasing for a bit, and they've got to feel like it's their time. The way they've been putting this team together, those cherry on top deals at the deadline, yes, they're playing it like it's they get past the Dodgers. They probably feel they can beat anybody, and they probably feel they can beat the Dodgers too.
Yeah. To this point, Richard Flores is saying, want to shut up SD, show up and win the series. Yeah. I mean, nothing else to do. We had another super chat from Carlos. Someone tell Mookie that he's Mookie effing Betts. That's a great point. And if you caught our Dave Roberts video that's on our YouTube channel yesterday, it's basically the message that Dave said he was going to give Mookie. And so we're going to get into that here in a couple minutes. So, Carlos, thank you for that. SoCal, let's see. I saw you did the super chat, and I think I saw your question. I'm assuming that this one is it. Giants versus Dodgers has been a rivalry a long time. Do you view the Padres as a rival yet? This is a great question. Anthony and I got this, I think, final week of the regular season, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it is. It's not on the level of Dodgers Giants by any means. It's not close to that. It's not Dodgers Yankees, but this is now 3 playoff matchups since 2020. The division has become tighter in recent years. I think they are a rival at this point. And I don't know, like, I know a lot of people, I felt like it was balanced now, and Anthony and I were discussing it, so I'm interested to see what people are saying today. But I view it as a rivalry at this point.
Yeah, you bring up, SoCal, thanks for the super chat on there. It's a great question. I would say for now it is. In this current block of time, it definitely is, because the Giants, they're in this rebuilding period. They're in this holding pattern where I don't even think they know what they're doing. They had that all-timer run in 2021, and then everybody fell off a cliff, and that was it. The Giants were a rivalry during the late, like the 2010s right there, right? Like that was dating back, historic stuff with the franchise. But right now, what we're seeing like I said, this Padres core, they've built a team. They've got a franchise that is building up to it. And there's a reason why the NLDS was such a big time thing. And I think for right now, this block of time, yes, it's a rivalry. Anytime you come into it with emotions like this, it's not just because it's a good series. Like you're not looking at like the Mets Phillies and saying, oh, that's, is that a rivalry brewing? Like that's, a matchup that happened. I would say that right now, this is something where it's NL West opponents battling it out during the regular season, having a regular season series, deciding first place at this point. And then 2 years ago, you look back, or in 2022, you look back and they bounced the Dodgers in the first round. Like there is some get back to both of these teams. Dodgers want to get them back for beating them in the DS. Dodgers want to say, yes, we led first place all year long. So this is a World Series matchup, correct, in a division series because it has so much division ties to it. It is a rivalry for this block of time. Yes, this is the Dodgers' current rivalry in the division for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Iris, I saw your question asking about the lineup. It's usually about 3 hours before first pitch. So around 3 p.m. tonight is when the Dodgers lineup should be out. The caveat to all of that is if they're waiting on anything and determining availability and stuff like that. Hint, hint, Freddie Freeman, which let's get into Freddie.
Sure.
The Dodgers had their workout at Petco. I was there. Dave told us that Freeman, obviously he came out of game 2 early because of the right ankle discomfort or pain. I forgot what official diagnosis description the Dodgers gave it, but basically everybody knows about his sprained right ankle that he has. I didn't see Freddie on the field during the workout, so he was receiving treatment pretty much that entire time. I would assume they hope that he's going to play for game 3. What I found interesting is Dave said he had acknowledged that the Dodgers might look for ways to sort of give him, and Iris is saying she wants to know about Xander Bogaerts as well. Mike Schultz said yesterday that it was just dehydration for Bogaerts, and so they're expecting him to be in the lineup tonight. But back to Freddie. Dave was saying that he acknowledged that the Dodgers might look to give him sort of a break at some point, which I thought is interesting because, like, this isn't the regular season. I mean, your year is basically on the line, and Dave suggested that if Freeman is able to play in game 3 and the Padres either start or rely on Perez as a bulk pitcher in game 4, since he is a lefty, that might be a scenario where maybe Freeman isn't in the lineup.
Could be.
Can't get there. Can't get to Wednesday before we play Tuesday. But what's your hearing all of this and just looking at everything that's transpired over the past week with Freeman trying to get right, doing all his treatment, seeing him steal a base one night, then limping really bad the next day. What's your level of concern for his availability just kind of moving forward?
I think that's up to, I mean, the level of concern. Can I tell you, I don't want to answer that one and kind of break down what I see, like how I've seen
Go
Freeman here.
Yeah.
So what we've seen from Freddie is, a hell of a willingness to get and do everything he can to get on the field, because that looked like an injury that if it was avoidable, I'm not sure any of us could do it. Guys, we're all not as athletic as these big league guys. Looked very, very bad. It looked gruesome from it. I would be down for the count if I had that thing. And he did everything. Like, he was at the stadium early. It was documented. You were there. Like, he was doing everything he could to get on the field for game one. He performed in game one. He was a factor in that. And then he has to, bow out. For as much as you can get him on the field, I would do it. And if finding a spot to give him some rest tells me that they're going to, like, let me ask, if that's what it takes to keep him on the field with as high quality of play as you can get out of him, would you prefer him to, play, a complete game tonight? And then if Martin Perez is in there, that's when you give him his break to hopefully extend the rest of his season. Would you prefer that? Or you're just saying go out there as much as you can?
If the Dodgers win tonight, sure, rest him. And there's, it's the playoffs. And so you never want to take anything for granted, because if you lose game 4, like game 5, game 5, game 7, I guess game 3 in wild card series, like, any winner take all scenario is unsettling. But if the Dodgers win game 3 and you're up 2-1 and you're not facing elimination in game 4 and it's a lefty on the mound, sure, sit him. And then if the Padres make some changes late in the game and he's available to pinch hit, fine. If they lose game 3 and the season's on the line, and I think Freddie would be in the lineup at this point, unless he just honestly can't. Like, he is a gamer. Like, he is trying to push through it. That's the only real scenario where I would understand if he doesn't play in game 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I would look at it. I would say, he plays tonight, and then you go into tomorrow. There is a scenario where you just like saw in game 2, where it might be, hey, we can not afford to lose this, but we can get Kike Hernandez in there with a plus designation against a lefty, and you still feel pretty confident about a bat in there and Kike Hernandez playing third base, move Max Muncy to first, however they want to dice it up. And I would say they still feel pretty confident. As far as if they lose today, Freddie's got to give it everything he's got tomorrow, and I surefire think he will. Like, I think he'll go out there and do everything. But to what you said, it's a lot is factoring on tonight, like a ton. Pitching, offense, like the health of Freddie Freeman, yes, a lot's going down with today.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess like we're also assuming that Freeman's going to be available in the lineup. Like, I wouldn't be fully shocked
if he's not. Then
if he's not, just because he did say that they told him. Well, two things. One, he said that they told him, the training staff told him his injury is basically like 4 to 6 weeks. So that tells me he's dealing with like a high ankle sprain. It is, and the pictures, the video, it looks bad. The other part, and real quick, we'll move on to Mookie right after this, is that somehow this is Freeman's first sprained ankle in his life. Like, how was that possible? That surprised me.
That's a lot of luck. I got a sprained ankle. I've had some sprained ankles, and I remember Nora and I were playing catch out front. I jumped up to get a ball, rolled my ankle on the curb, and I was looking up at the sky like, this is it. That's put me down. Like, it was it. So I can only imagine what he's going through. He's going to give it everything he's got. And if it's risking further injury there, he's going to still try to give it a go. As you saw in game 1, it's just a matter of, does he feel like Freddie Freeman's a very honest guy with his game. If he feels he'll be a detriment, because what he said in his post games, if he feels like he'll be a negative as a player on the field, he won't do it. He's going to be, an honest guy.
Yeah. All right. Our next super chat's from Pearl and Pause. Mookie could be worse. He could still be playing shortstop. He'll be back today. Let's get into the Mookie Betts. Pearl and Pause, thank you for the super chat. Thank you everybody for those super chats. Thank you everybody for just joining us this, kind of impromptu afternoon show that we're doing here. We're gonna touch on Mookie, and then we'll close with a few minutes of questions. Then I need to head out at about 1 p.m., maybe a few minutes after, to head over to Petco Park for the start of some press conferences. Obviously, Mookie's playoff performances the past few years are under a microscope, and he's struggling again so far. But what I want to ask you is it a little bit different this October? Is there some silver lining? Because I know one of them was an intentional walk in game 1, but he did reach base a couple other times via walk. Game 2, he hits a ball that carries past the fence. There's no denying that. Jurickson Profar made a great catch out there, and if he doesn't, Mookie has a home run, and maybe things are feeling a little bit different. So taking all that into account, quality of at-bats type thing, is this October different than for Mookie than last year and the year before, or are you still seeing some similarities and it's kind of all just grouping and bunched together?
I think we can lean on a lot of hearing Dave Roberts' frustration with Mookie Betts. And I think we can say that Dave Roberts is a little bit frustrated with the performance of Mookie Betts there. And he can see, just like we can see him feeling that pressure of these past postseason performances building up on him. You know, you look back, he's 2 for 31 in the Dodgers' past 3 postseason series. So they've been bounced in the NLDS twice in those, and he's hitless in his last 22 at-bats. I know he would have had a home run, but Profar made a play, and it's not. But the fact is, I've got a buddy who's a big nerd. Shout out to Brandon. Appreciate you, man. He told me some of the data from Mookie Betts' past 3 years, and he's got an average exit velo in those 3 years of 83.2 miles per hour. So when he's hitting the ball, he's not hitting hard. He looks up there like he's not comfortable. He looks very passive. He looks indecisive, I would say. And I think that from a 2-hitter, is it fair to say it's unacceptable? Like, I know superstars have their slumps, and a lot of people, I think Bowden put out like a thing about stars that are underperforming, but it's okay to look at that. But when you look at what Mookie Betts has done the past 3 years, and I'm not going to look back to 2021. I'm not looking back to 2020. That's a long time ago. You can be different players, and it's not just isolating for our current narrative. This is 3 past postseason series, and he has not performed. They are not overstated. They are what they are. Dave Roberts said, I want Mookie Betts to be the same guy. I expect him to be the same guy that he is in the postseason. Why is he not? Why is he not? Why is he not? Not even a shade of it. Not even close.
Yeah, I think at this point, a lot of it is mental. Mookie told reporters yesterday that he's taking, again, like 300 or 400 swings in the cages, which, like, on one hand, I'm a little, this is the second time in like 3 weeks that he has thrown that number out there. And then one of the hitting coaches said like it was closer to 200, which I think is still a lot. And I respect, like, that's what you want, right? You want to see the players caring and taking it seriously. So I can respect that side of it.
Yeah.
I think also the other side is he doing too much? Is that like, and this is something the Dodgers went through this with Corey Seager. Dave Roberts would always say, like, it's a fine balance of Corey Seager is somebody who loves to get in the batting cage and just take swing after swing after swing after swing. And the Dodgers got to a point where they had to find some sort of balance with him because they felt like he was wearing himself out. So I worry, like, is that now potentially happening with Mookie? The other part is Mookie did say that, yes, like, he's aware of his struggles in the playoffs. And he, said, I understand you guys are doing your job, so you're asking me about it, but that's one way. He knows his stats. He's heard all, the narratives, I guess, if you will. So I think it's mental with him. And I can tell you guys, this isn't going to ease any concerns, but Mookie did hit off the velocity machine during the workout last night. Remember that night when he popped up to the 4 different infielders? Yeah, he was getting some of them to the outfield this time, but it wasn't pretty. And again, like, I just worry that if it is mental, then is there enough time for him to emerge from his rut? Even though, like you said, and like Dave Roberts explained, they just need him to be his regular season self. They're not asking him to, go and carry the team. Like, honestly, that's what Ohtani is here for at this point. But yeah, that's kind of where things stand with Mookie. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on him tonight.
It's going to make things a lot tougher for Shohei Ohtani. He's going to be pitched hard. You could see Yu Darvish had a plan against him. Stay away from the barrel, make him go opposite way, keep him off balance there, and perhaps just not even pitch to him. And now if you have Mookie in the 2-hole where you can tell, he's not on his game. Like, he is clearly not. It's a hole in the lineup. And for a superstar guy, you just need to be any little bit of yourself, Mookie Betts. Like, any little bit of yourself. And then it makes Ohtani's job easier. Than you have to say, if we put a runner on base, now we've got a problem here. Now, right now with current Mookie Betts and what's been going on and following these trends, which are very real. It's not a narrative. It's a fact now. He's struggled the past 3 years. It's not something we're just making up now. They're aware of it. It's going to impact how they pitch to Shohei Ohtani. If Freddie Freeman's not in there, then it's going to impact everything. There's a lot of different factors going on here. Mookie Betts needs to step up with it. I'm not going to look at other superstars and let him off the hook just to say a lot of people are struggling in the postseason. It's a small sample. If Mookie Betts is aware of his struggles, then yes, it's a problem. Once we hear it from them that it's verbally acknowledged, Dave Roberts saying he's going to have a chat with Mookie Betts about it and talk about it, not to do too much here. Just do a little bit, Mookie. Just a little bit. Then that influence goes to Ohtani. Game plans change. It's all calculated. You've got to do something. Just get on base, get some knocks, take it opposite way, stop popping up to the infield, be a factor.
Yeah, that's well said. And I think, unfortunately, the Freddie Freeman's injury is another layer to this, because if he's limited and or not around, then it does invariably put more pressure on Mookie, and not just Mookie, but Ohtani, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, for that matter, all those guys. So yeah. All right, let's answer some questions for a few minutes here, guys. If you could just throw them in the chat with the word question in all caps, that'll help Scott and I pick them out. And we're gonna try and get to as many as we can. I do only have like 5 to 10 minutes at this point before I need to head to Petco, so just bear with us here. Our first one's from Joel. If Shohei Ohtani steals bases, will that help the Dodgers win? I mean, yeah, I think simple answer is yes, because 1, it means he's on base, and 2, he's then getting into scoring position, creating some stress for the other team. But then, at that point, it comes down to Mookie, Freeman, Teoscar. Those guys need to get some hits to drive them in, because you can't just leave them on base. Bob Thompson says, if Doc said something to Mookie as a mental refocus, what would he say? Scott, you touched on it earlier. Dave did share what his message to Mookie was going to be.
Yeah. It's just got to be, stay within yourself. Just be yourself in the regular season. Just stick right with that. The postseason is heightened for sure. It's easier said than done for it. But as a manager, just be that presence where you say, you've done this for 162 or however many games Mookie was out there. He would have been right there, 1 and 2 with Shohei Ohtani for MVP. Show a little bit of that self there. You've got somebody in front of you playing at an MVP level, one of the best hitters we've ever seen. Be that 2-man. You don't need to be right there with him. Be that 2-man, make pitchers work, do what you do best, get on base, be frustrating at bat there, and capitalize on mistakes. That's what I would tell Mookie Betts.
Yeah. All right, here we got some good questions coming in. Let me throw them up. Corbin, always love seeing you in here with your burner doodle. Wants to know, how important will the first inning be tonight? We touched on this earlier. I think it'll be key, and I think the Dodgers, batting first could change things, whereas maybe they get to take a lead before their pitcher has to go out there. So it'll certainly be key. Walker Buehler hasn't been great in the first inning this season. I'm not sure about his entire career. I don't remember enough, but he recognizes his struggles there, and he said he needs to be better tonight. Normally wants to know, actually, we did have a super chat earlier. Ravens Moreland, I apologize for this. Do they test for PEDs in the postseason? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I think that they do, but I don't know the specifics for that.
I hope they test Mookie Betts.
Yeah, normally wants to know, why not swap Barnes for Smith? He works counts and usually doesn't fish outside the zone where King operates. Look, I get it. You guys have been with us. I like Barnesy, but I mean, he's not starting over Will Smith in a playoff game right now.
Not a chance. Yeah, not a chance here. And that upside it's got to be there. Yeah, and that's not going to be with Austin Barnes.
Yeah. Rebecca says, if Mookie goes down to 5 in the lineup, would that make a difference for the team?
Rebecca, honestly, I don't know. I don't know if a change, like a drop down in the order, will matter. Like, I think that would mess with Mookie way more than. That's why the conversation was asked of Dave, would you move Mookie Betts back to the leadoff role? As far as this is a question that I think, Matt, I was on here with you, which it was like, when's too late to make a change? Like with that, I don't know if it's right now is too late to make a change. Is that, would you even entertain that? I'm not going to fault you right or wrong. Is that even something that would be in your mind about dropping Mookie Betts to 5th in the order? Like way lower than I think we've ever seen him with the Dodgers. I think he's only batted 1 or 2.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd do 5. I think that would be too jarring. Dave was asked if there was any thought to moving Mookie to the leadoff spot, and he said no. So it seems like they're pretty set on their lineup order, and does kind of like understandably so. Cordonez wants to know, what do you guys think will be Walker's final line score tonight? These are always tough. I mean,
these are always tough.
I can see him getting into the 5th inning. Maybe it's 4 1/3. Maybe it's 4 2/3. I think he gives up 4 runs. I'm a little worried with seeing the Padres again a second time this quickly.
I was comfortable saying, yeah, you got it, Rebecca. Cortez, I was comfortable saying that from Jack Flaherty, if he goes 5 innings and allows 3 earned runs, I'm happy with it. And I'm going to say the same thing for Walker Buehler.
Fair.
Like I really will say the same thing. If it's 5 innings, 3 earned runs, I'm okay with it. Like that's something I'm willing to live with because the Padres lineup is very aggressive. They will hit the ball, and he's got to have that cutter working. I need to see him working that, the east-west a little bit here. Cutter's got to stay off a barrel. He's got to be able to let his defense work, get him into the 5th. And I just saw somebody put it up 5 innings, like 2 earned runs. I think it was Iris says 5 2/3, 2 earned runs. He does that. That's a game-changing type of line for what the Dodgers have currently seen because the Dodgers can come back. But game after game of doing that, it's just asking so much. The amount of perfect things that have to line up. Your bullpen's got to be spot on. Your offense has to be taking advantage of their opportunities, getting that starting pitcher out of the rhythm if they are in one, hitting the multitude of arms and arm angles and arsenals that the Schilt will go to in the Padres bullpen. A lot of things have to work perfectly to come back in each game. So to get 5 2/3 with 2 earned runs from Walker Buehler, I'm saying they're in it. Yeah, Alfonso, same type of thing. 4 walks though, that means he's working around a lot of some traffic there. So guys, I think all of it's the same type of line. Like if that's the case, then you're putting the Dodgers offense in a spot where they can get these opportunities. It's just a matter of if they have one early in the game and King doesn't look perfect, just like Dylan Cease didn't, make the most of those opportunities because then that's when you can actually capitalize. It's going to be a tall task though. Michael King's he's an ace type of guy.
Yeah. Bob Thompson's asking if there's an opener. There's not, barring kind of a late change that the Dodgers have made and maybe is just not public knowledge, but I wouldn't anticipate it. In the past, Walker Buehler, I've brought it up multiple times. He's made it clear he's not comfortable pitching out of the bullpen, so I don't think there hasn't been any indication that the Dodgers are going to do that tonight, so I wouldn't anticipate it. The other thing, I'll go so far as to say if Buehler goes 5 2/3 and allows 2 runs or 6 innings and allows 2 runs, then I will predict the Dodgers win under that scenario because I don't see how, like you said, that's game changing. I don't see how they would lose at that point. Sort of related to all of that, normally he wants to know how many runs do you think the Dodgers need to score tonight to get a win? He says 8.
8. I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say 6 runs. I'm going to say they need to go 5 or 6 runs right there. 5 or 6 runs. It's got to be. Bob says 8 again. 8. That's a huge number. That's a big number with the arrested bullpen coming off 2 days. They didn't have to use leverage guys in game 2. Padres nothing yesterday because of the day off. That's a lot. So 8 runs. That you're saying the offense gets clicking. That's a big time number.
Yeah, I think 5 or 6. I agree with you. I think 5 or 6 could be enough. All right. I think this will be our last question. It's from Larry. He wants to know, would you be satisfied enough if we win this series but fall short on winning the World Series? For me, it's an easy no. I'm not interested in the Dodgers playing in the playoffs just to beat the Padres. I don't care if it was the NLDS, the NLCS. Dodgers are an established team. We've been through this. This is 12 years in a row in the postseason, 11 NL West titles during that span. They're playing for much more than defeating one opponent at this point.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing, guys. Like, Larry, thanks for the question. It'd be the same thing of saying, okay, you beat the Padres, or like losing to a team and them going on to win the World Series. Like, oh, well, at least we lost to the World Series winner. Like, for a team like the Dodgers, for what Ohtani just did, for what Mookie just did in the regular season, weathering all those injuries, the conversation of, is this Dave Roberts' final year, depending on how things go? That's something, are we ready to deal with? I mean, a lot of fans have been for years, but as far as right now, I would say to kind of save where the Dodgers' current trajectory is at with Dave Roberts at the helm, they need a title. They for sure need a title. I would say so. I'm not satisfied with anything but a ring. And other than that, it'll be back to the drawing board in the offseason of how they can, kind of hammer out these injury issues. I'm not ready to have that conversation yet.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the good news is we don't have to tonight, regardless of what happens. There's at least 2 more games that the Dodgers and Padres are playing. And hey, maybe the Dodgers end up closing out the series. Everybody's writing them off like they're down 2-0. All right. Super chat really quick. Mike Lopez got this one in. Mookie needs to bunt and steal bases for us to win. I don't know about the bunting. If he gets on base and can steal a couple, then sure, that'll probably help more than bunting. But Mike, we appreciate the super chat. We appreciate you joining us for this show. That's going to do it. As I mentioned, I need to head over to Petco Park. Be sure to follow Dodger Blue 1958, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. We're going to be throwing up some press conference videos and obviously post-game. Scott and Anthony are going to be back with you guys live tonight after the game ends. Hopefully it'll be a win. I have a feeling no matter what, there's going to be plenty to talk about. So definitely be sure to join them. If you are on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. That way you'll get notified as soon as they're about to start tonight's stream. Thanks again, everybody. This was a fun little impromptu show that we got to do with you guys. I apologize again for our technical difficulties Monday night. Once again, that's Scott. I'm Matthew, and we'll see you later tonight.